Conan the Barbarian, Super 7. When I saw this was coming out, I'd heard that this was a reissue. I'd heard that it already came out and that this was basically a reissue. I can't argue that point. I don't know enough about Super 7 to say yes or no. What I will say is that if this is a reissue, they sure took their sweet time with it. Like in terms of getting it back out there. If it is not just a reissue, and this is more of an actual figure released current, maybe that they've already had a couple Conans, but this is his own thing on top of those Conans, I don't know. And I don't know which one to argue. I just know that they showed that they were doing Conan and they were doing King Cole. And I said, I have my issues with Super 7. That is undeniable. And I've never lied about them. But if you're going to do Conan the Barbarian, and you're going to do it in a decent scale, and you're going to do it with fair modern articulation, well, you have my attention. Let's go ahead and start by calling them out. See that Conan in there? Let's look at his hair. Okay. I can't prove this. But I don't think that Conan is this Conan. If we call out McFarlane over and over and over again for it, we have to say something about Super 7. This looks more spot on. That doesn't. That seems like a different art style Conan. His hair is longer. He no longer has the necklace, which that puts him a little older, because I remember the necklace when we were starting out, when he was younger. Right after losing the helmet that he was wearing in the comic books, he was still wearing the necklace, and he wore the necklace for a while before he lost the necklace. And so you're looking at the midlife Conan, I think. Maybe, arguably, this could be an amalgamation of just comic book Conan, and they took what they thought were the best possible things that they could get for each one, and they put it all together and made a Conan the Barbarian. I wouldn't argue that. That's fine. I'm more than okay with that. I would even completely understand that. So they give you the necklace, and they're like, if you want him to be this part of his life or whatever, you can choose what you want to do here. You can give him the axe, you can give him the sword, you can give him the sheath, you can do what you want to do. Make your Conan. Okay, but I'm thinking, looking at him, I'm thinking this is Amra Conan. I can't prove that. I don't have any guarantees. I can't compare him to every single piece of art that Big Steve ever did. But I have a feeling, looking at him, this feels like Amra. That's what I'm guessing. If I have to put this to an era of Conan, this is Amra Conan. That's my guess. Best possible guess. I don't know. I don't know. I do know, looking at the back, that I kind of wish that Super 7 was a company that played more like Mattel. When Mattel shows you stuff on the back, right? When they go, here's a bunch of stuff. You can look at that stuff and you can get a pretty good hint as to what's coming down the line. Not with this. First off my head, I can't place her. I have no idea who it is. This could be a Conan damsel. One of the random girls. I know this looks very much like it was taken from some book. What book? I'm not going to claim to know that off the top of my head. I see the mirror. I know a couple of mirrors in Conan the Barbarian, so I'm still not even locking that down as to what relic that is. I don't know her. She doesn't proc in my mind as one that I should automatically know. It could just be a random Conan damsel. Are we going to get her in Super 7? I doubt it. This guy back here, random Conan cultist guy. Like, maybe that is... It could be from the storyline where they stole the living Tarim. And if that's possible, then that was the wizard that was causing all that caused the big fight and whatnot, where Conan gets drafted into the Tarim Empire and whatnot, and then ends up on the other side of the conflict due to circumstances, and then ends up making a mortal enemy, basically a lifelong enemy of is his name Yezdegerd? I could be mispronouncing that horrifically, but I'm thinking something like that. Yeah, is it Yezdegerd? I can't remember 100%. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. I'm going to claim to love Conan the Barbarian and know a lot about it and claim to have read a lot of it. But that doesn't mean this doesn't blur together when you're talking about 30 years worth of content or more that I've already read. You get the idea. So I don't even think that's this guy. This has me lost. And this doesn't feel like this. And that's pretty much what I'm saying here, is that I don't think we're going to get any of this. That's kind of a shame, because I would definitely like to see them continue a giant Conan line where I could buy a bunch of Conan stuff. I would love that. Like, I'd get Conan from different parts of his life. I could get Beilit. I could get different things like that. That would be fantastic. I would absolutely love that. But is it going to happen? I seriously doubt it. And I don't think there's any kinds of plans regardless of the picture that they chose. I just don't think they're that kind. I don't think they're that serious about this license. Shame, in all honesty, because I would love to see what an Ultimates line for Conan the Barbarian could do long term if it just kept pulling in possibilities. But I would also say that at a business aspect, most people will not know enough of the small individual characters of the Conan universe to buy most of them. Heck, most people still reference the movie as if Conan is supposed to be fighting Thul Sadum. He's not. He's not. He doesn't fight Thul Sadum, not the way that people seem to think he does. His specific enemy was Toth Amon. Like, it was that was the sorcerer that was most wired into the comic books as his enemy, not Thul Sadum. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Thul Sadum was kind of like a King Cole problem. I think so. So, do I believe that there would be enough buying power if they extended a line like Conan and made a whole bunch of characters? I don't. I think they're probably making the right choice, giving us an amalgamation Conan and saying, there's a Conan the Barbarian, do you want it? Everybody knows Conan, let's do it. That probably makes the most sense. I think they're even taking a chance with King Cole. In fact, I would wonder if I went online right now if I could still just easily buy him. And I would wonder if he's going to end up going on sale. Because most people, even knowing Conan the Barbarian, if you're a casual fan, I'm not saying anything bad about that, I'm saying people get in where they get in. And if you like things like Conan movies, if you like things like you've read a couple Conan things here and there, maybe you've even kind of ran through the comic books, you like the original Marvel years, that doesn't necessarily mean that you would even know who Cole is. Not realistically. He would appear in a couple of books here and there through circumstance, and he would be brought up as a big deal to like massive Conan fans, and to you it would be like an old king that showed up in a book and it was kind of cool, and then you moved on with your life and went to the next weekly Conan adventure or whatever. I don't know how he's going to sell. That's the problem with building a Conan the Barbarian line. I would love to see it. The reality of it seems very scarce to me. But we are getting more and more and more Conan as we go. This has been a tremendous couple of years for getting Conan possibilities. In fact, I already have another Conan sitting down on the floor right now waiting for unbox. So, let's open this guy and see how Super 7 did with Conan the Barbarian. Okay. So, we of course have Conan right here. He's not a super attractive mug, and he shouldn't be, I would argue. That's not what Conan is. He's not a super hyper, handsome guy. He's a guy from a universe, from a time when looking pretty wasn't going to get you too much. He's not a civilized dude. He's rough around the edges. He's kind of an ugly mugger. Not that there's not a ruggedness to Conan. He could be attractive in a certain sense, but he's never been interested or worried about it, is what I'm saying. And so having this kind of face and whatnot really kind of works for him. I really think he's just kind of mean mugging, and I think it works really well. I like the black hair. I know that even the image, like when you see Conan in the original Marvel comics, he tends to kind of have like blue hair. That's not blue, and I don't expect the toys to do that. That's very much one of the things that we've seen over the years in comic books, where like black hair or black things will have like blue, so that you can kind of get the idea that that's where the light is hitting in comic books and whatnot. That's what that is. He doesn't have blue hair. I don't know. I've even heard some people say that he has blue hair. Like, he doesn't. That's not a thing. It's never, ever, ever been a thing. He's not an anime character. It's not a thing. I like this. This works very well for him. It has a lot of give, which is good. I like the big boots. These are very much comic book boots with the heavy cuffs. Decent here. Arm pieces. I like that gold band, and I like that it's actually a part of the arm. This isn't something that we're going to take off. I kind of appreciate that sometimes. Sometimes extra armor pieces or whatever that are going to fall off or lose that tightness over time and then kind of fall off the arm and then kind of roll all over the place. I don't need that aggravation sometimes. Sometimes I want my Conan to stay exactly the way my Conan is, like this forever, and I'll be happy with it. I like all the damage. Conan is a rough character. He doesn't need to be pretty. That makes no sense. He doesn't even necessarily need to look heroic. He needs to look barbaric. And adding battle damage, like all the scars, they're not etched in, they're painted, but they get the effect. This is a dude that has seen combat. He has lived that life, okay? We are Super 7, so we're looking at single joint elbows. Is that going to be a problem? I don't know. We'll discuss that soon, actually. Not too terrible. That's him looking down. It's not great. That's him looking up. These figures are very reminiscent to, like, Motu Classics. Most of the time, I don't care for figures with this body sculpt. Conan kind of gets a pass, but most other figures, I would wait till something else came out that caught my attention, if I'm being perfectly honest. That's just the way that it is for me. I would normally go out of my way for other body sculpts. Like this, there's something cartoony about him. It's meant to be comic book Conan. That kind of gives him some leeway. But like, I've never been a fan of like this hard cut right here. Like, I hate that. Look at that. He has like a butt on his back. Like, because that's the way that these were designed. And look at this. Look at this level of bend we have. But it's like a hard snap. I mean, you heard it, right? Like, oh, there it is. Now that it's snapped out, it's not doing it again. But there we go. Like, that's... Do them sit-ups, Conan. Like, that is all we're going to get out of the arm. We do go all the way around. We will T-pose for what it's worth, though. So we got that going for us. He can sidekick, though I don't see why Conan is throwing sidekicks. We also have the single joint knees, and we have decent movement on the ankles with a rock on both edges. He has more than enough movement if you compare him to figures like I said. If you want to compare him inside of a line like Motu Classics, if you want to compare him inside of some other lines comparable to that, he will do just fine. That's a Super 7 thing. They don't build figures with massive movement. It's not a thing. They don't do it. We have a regular sullen face, and we have this angry face for when he's getting super serious, which is pretty cool. Both of these are pretty decent faces, decent wash, really hard. They got like the tired, broken in eyes, whatnot, with the shadow on them. I'm fine with that. I think that it works. I think that it's cool. We have his necklace right here, which is a hanging artifact, so we can pull the neck, simple ball joint. We're not surprising anybody. We're not like, you know, we're not changing the world here, but there it is. That's fine. His hair does tend to push it up, though, so like there it's laying on his chest. Now if he kind of looks up, do you see that's... So one could also argue that in this case, this necklace, unless this hair was going to get out of his way, because you got to be real careful about it, head placement all the time. Like, look, now it's like lifting off the chest. That's going to make the necklace a tough sell. Every time you move his head, you've got to rearrange the necklace so that it kind of looks like, see, because it catches on the hair. That is a bit of a problem, which is comparable to the kind of thing where I said, I like that this is built into the arm as a part of the actual sculpt. It almost makes me wish that they would have just built the necklace into him, but not building the necklace into him allows me to take the necklace off, and then he's just bare chest Conan, and I can live with that, so I don't think that's too big of a deal. When I need a very specific shot with him having the necklace, I can get it. If the necklace is a pain, I can remove it. That's fine. We have a belt here, and it's very much, it's just a snap system. There's just a button in there, and we unbutton it, and we put it on his side here, which should be fine. We have a sword, which is a pretty good one, to be fair. We have an axe, which is a pretty good one. We have 2 gripping hands, and we have 2, I call them expression hands. Like the open hands, I call them expression hands. And for what it's worth, it came with this pretty cool background. Not that I'm going to do anything with it. I'm going to throw it away. It's packaging to me. But yeah. That's Conan. The only thing I really want to see is I want to be able to test. We're going to do it with this one right here. I want to test this sword. Your hand going to give me problems? No. Okay. We have a sword. We have Conan. We have a sword. We're going to open the other hand. And we're going to test some things. So there we go. Oh, okay. See, his belt is a little bit of a pain. The loincloth is a little bit of a pain. It does have a lot of give, but I mean, it is kind of in his way. So we want him to slash out. We can kind of get that. We can put this hand over like this and get him slashing across. We can get him kind of like this, where he's coming down at somebody. That's not terrible. We can also kind of create something like this, which works pretty well for him, which is pretty cool. I don't hate that idea. He poses enough that we're going to get something out of him, and we're going to make it work. He is not the best Conan I have ever seen. It's not a thing. So far, probably the best Conan on my shelf. Might arguably be my King Conan Mezco. But he has a major flaw as well. And when I do the Conan collection video, where I say, you know, what is the best Conan on my shelf currently, I will be talking about his one big problem. And it is a big problem. I'm just going to put it out there. When we get to it, we get to it. But because I want to see one last thing, this is Super7 Conan. This is the Loose Collector Red Sonja. And they would work wonderfully together. She would be the star of the show in terms of articulation, movement, and design, I think. But he does look like he fits. I don't think that these two look so removed that you can't put them together and have them work. Okay, that's good. The Epic Hacks Sonja, which has grown on me, actually. Every time I use her, I get a little more appreciation for what they did with this figure. She looks like this next to him. And I've also discussed this. I like the fact that she's a redhead and they made her pale. I like that. I don't mind a tanner Red Sonja. I do think that it also makes sense because we've seen it in the books many, many, many times. But I really like when like the redheads have that pale skin. That it works. It makes sense to me. She's redhead. This feels right in a lot of different ways. Her frame is small, so she stands next to him pretty well. That's her literally like literally standing on his feet. So depending on the level of Red Sonja that you want in terms of how big or small you want Red Sonja to be, he goes pretty well with both of them. And then you could figure out which one you would actually like if you're going to set up some action shots and stuff like that. Pretty decent Conan. I will say this. He is a $60 figure. He is a Super 7 figure. He's $60, $65 in some cases, $70 if you're including shipping and handling and things of that nature. That is a lot. Super 7 often feels overpriced to me. And in this case, Conan kind of falls in the overpriced. He feels like an old figure. It feels like he came from classics. I've talked about that era of figures. I'm not a fan of that era of figures. I did not like DC Classics. I did not like Motu Classics. I did not buy figures from this era because I didn't like the way figures were made in this era. He falls into that design factor. He will never be my favorite Conan. It will never, ever, ever happen. And at this price, on a personal level, he is overpriced. That being said, if you want a decently solid Conan for your shelf, and you don't collect too often, and you just want a Conan, he's good. You would do fine snatching up this Conan. You would do pictures with him. He would mix well with a lot of your figures. If you already have figures of this design, he will fit right in. And I don't think you'd be doing yourself a bad thing. But I like to be honest about it. While I will justify this, and I will be happy to put a Conan on my shelf, I will also be truthful in saying that he will probably never be my favorite Conan. And he is overpriced. If you can live with those two things, he is a good figure for what he is.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.